if it hasn't been clear yet, my dad's my hero, right? So
Amazing.
anytime your hero has a dream and you have any ability to help make his dream come into reality, you're going to do anything and everything in your power to do that. And that's all I'm doing. I'm trying to make my pops proud and say, I had a dream and my son busted his ass to make my dream come true. So that's for me the end game.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I've got Prav Saraff today here from Dream Spirits. Prav, would you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks, brother. Thanks so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It's great
Absolutely.
to be able to finally kick it again after, the few months ago when we first talked about possibly doing this. So I'm very thankful for you to have had me on. My name is Prav Saraff, as you've said. My family owns a couple of wine and liquor stores in DC and a small bar and then a up and coming, or at least I like to think up and coming, NDP called Dream Spirits, which is in the suburbs of Washington, DC.
Gotcha. Did you grow up in DC?
Ish. I was born and
Yeah.
raised in Nepal, but my family have lived here ever since. So in the DC area, like Northern Virginia, DC area, ever since I was 9.
Yeah. I feel like everybody who just lives up there just says DC, but it's somewhere like, could be Virginia, Maryland, right? Couple
Exactly.
cities outside of DC. Gotcha.
100%. Yeah, there's nobody
I
that's
gotcha.
actually they're unicorns. People that are actually born, raised, and lived in DC proper their whole life are very, very difficult to find. Harder to find than a King of Kentucky at MSRP.
All right, Prof. So tell me a little bit about, let's go back to kind of the beginning of your story. Your family started a liquor store. Tell me what that looked like. So you moved to the United States. You're a kid. I understand you don't understand. You didn't even speak English at the time, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Tell
I
me.
tell people all the time, like when we moved here, when my family moved here, we didn't have any family here, no, like close family friends here. We did have a family that was from my mom's side that's kind of like a semi-distant family, if you would, very close
Okay.
family friend slash semi-distant family that was in the Northern Virginia area. But we didn't have any mentors or anyone to kind of like help guide us through things in life here. We didn't speak any English. We spoke about as much English as an average American probably speaks Spanish, right? Hello, how are you? What's your name? Thank you. Where's the bathroom? Very basic stuff, but that
Yeah,
was really
yeah,
it.
yeah. Right. So how old were you when you moved here?
So I was
You said
9
that.
when we moved here.
Okay.
This is 9.5. This is late fall, early winter of 89.
Yeah, so you moved here, don't speak English. What did your dad do for a living? Like, I mean, how does somebody go from Nepal and what did he do? How do you
Yeah,
go to DC?
my dad's an absolute legend, bro. Like, so we'll go back a little bit because I think to get the depth of what a legend
Please.
and gangster he is, you really have to understand his origin story, if you would, because his origin story is everything for our family and it's everything behind Dream Spirits. Dream Spirits is called Dream because A, I feel like my family is a full representation of what the American dream actually is and everything that's great about it. And B,
100%.
it's my dad's dream to build a brand. So dad grew up in India, born and raised in India. He was a part of 10 siblings. Unfortunately, when he was very, very young, pre-teen years, his dad passed away. So if you imagine like a single mother in a rural
Hmm.
village in India trying to raise 10 kids by herself, life can be quite a bitch. It can be quite a struggle. All the
Yeah,
kids, unfortunately, are forced to grow up and mature at a lot earlier age than
for
is
sure.
normal for most people. For my dad, what it did, I feel, only is that it accelerated his hustle, his grit, his entrepreneurial skills that were already there. It just kind of accelerated them and brought them to the surface for him. So he started working full time as since he was, I think, 11 or 12 years old. That's full time, just doing whatever he needed to do in order to help the family survive. Young adult, he moved out from home and moved to a different city and ended up moving to a city which is kind of like the sari capital of the world. So saris are like the drapery that Indian women wear that you see in like movie shows and stuff, right? So the city named Calcutta is the sari capital of the world, and Dad moved there and started working in the sari market over there, and started to do really well for himself, but as a regular employee, if you would, slash eventually became management, but never had his own business there. But my dad, like I was telling you, is an entrepreneur through and through, right?
Yeah.
So he saw an economic opportunity in a neighboring country in Nepal. So depending on where you are in India to where you want to go in Nepal, it can be like a quick, easy trip, kind of like Toronto to New York is for us, if you would, right? Really easy.
Okay.
You could take a train, you could take a flight, super simple to do, bordering countries. And Dad saw this economic opportunity there because Nepal was like kind of this really cool tourist hub for Westerners. Guys and
Hmm.
gals from the States and from Europe would go to Nepal to go trekking in the mountains. And it was always a very cool spot to kind of go hang out at for a lot of Westerners. And then the other thing that was happening was tariffs were non-existent, fun word, in Nepal back then. Right now, given what's happening in the country at the moment, but tariffs were non-existent in Nepal at the moment. So my pops moved to Nepal, opened up a small shop there, and then he would travel to Hong Kong 10 to 12 to 15 times a year. And he would go to Hong Kong and then bring back luxury goods like Ray-Ban sunglasses, Cartier, bells, things of that nature,
Yeah.
like
Yep. Yep.
really
Yep.
high-end luxury items. And he would sell them in his shop to the Westerners that
Hmm.
would be trading there and wealthy families from India that could travel to India to travel to Nepal to go shopping because things were so much cheaper because of the no tariffs thing. So
Uh,
Dad was doing really well for himself, really, really well for himself. And then one day he's talking to a guy that tells him that he's wasting his life there in Nepal because somebody like him needs to be in America chasing the American dream, and sky would be the limit for what him and his kids could achieve. So my dad called up this family friend that we had and told him, he said, "Hey, I want to see what America's like. Can I come stay with you guys for a few days?" So my dad comes here. He's here for less than 2 weeks. I think he's here for 11 or 12 days the first time he came. Saw God knows what he wanted to or needed to, but then he goes back home and he tells mom, he says, "Hey, start packing up your stuff. We're going to move to America." Just like that, on a whim, he decided he's going to uproot his life, right?
wow.
Yeah, then he takes a crazy even one step further, Brian. He decides he's not going to bring any of his money with him. He doesn't want to sell any of his businesses that he's got in Nepal. He leaves them to his siblings and decides that he's going to start from scratch and build from scratch when we move here. Because what he told mom is, "I have no problem working my ass off and building from scratch there. But if you guys hate it there, the kids hate it, you hate it, and we have to move back here, I have to start from scratch again in Nepal." So this is what we've done. We've moved here. We don't, as you hinted at earlier, we don't speak any English. We don't have any people here. This family was extremely generous to us. We lived in their basement. Five of us, me, my two siblings, mom and dad, lived in their basement for, I want to say about 2.5 months. And
Yeah.
then dad did everything that he possibly could to survive. Anything that meant bringing home a paycheck, he did.
Yeah.
My pops worked with an electrician, Brian, and to this day, he can't plug or unplug the TV probably without any help. Right? He didn't know what it meant to be an electrician or how to be one. He just knew that it meant a paycheck. And that was the biggest thing for him. He worked at a restaurant washing dishes in the back of house, passed out flyers for that same restaurant. The little T-shirt and hat stall vendors on the streets, the
Yeah.
street
Yeah.
vendors you see. Dad worked with one of those guys. He would bring home like trash bags full of T-shirts that were like as tall as I am now to our house, and they were like, we would as a family fold them up and then take them back to the stall the next day so dad could sell them at this stall. As a family, we pass out the newspaper at 4 a.m. together. Uh, he worked at a gas station. He worked at a liquor store eventually. At this liquor store, a light bulb goes off on his head and says, "This is what my family needs to do to survive in this country. That my immigration paperwork and everything is in order. I'm going to own a store," because he realized that the liquor business was a good business for him. As long as, and he'll tell you this to this day, and we've been doing this for well over 30 years now at this point. To this day, he'll tell you, if you're willing to work hard, treat people right, and be honest, you're always going to make a living in this industry, is what he thought. And he decides this is what we're going to do. So you fast forward to 95, 6 years of hardcore struggles later, all our immigration paperwork's finally in order. We can finally go out and buy a store. Mom and dad go literally block to block in DC, driving around trying to find a liquor store for us to buy. They finally find one that both of them love and decide this is where we're going to start our life. Only one problem: we don't have any money to go buy a liquor store. Right at the same time that dad is doing all of these jobs, mom was babysitting for the local families in the area. She would stitch up clothes for the local families that were there. She would make Indian snacks to sell at the local Indian stores. Literally anything we could do for $5, we did, because $5 meant another meal for us, for our family.
You guys were in the States. You're looking for a liquor store. You find a liquor store to buy, but your family doesn't have any money. Like, what do liquor cost? I have no idea.
Yeah, so back then, and this is now 1995, right? So
Okay.
95, I want to say, and don't quote me on this, my dad will remember for sure, but I want
Sure.
to say the first store that we bought was $150,000 for the
Hmm.
business plus inventory, whatever inventory cost as well. I don't remember obviously what that exact number was, but I want to say that was right. But like, it didn't matter. We didn't even have
Billion
$150.
dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even
Yeah.
have $150. Like, forget 150,000. So we dad is very headstrong. He has decided this is what I'm doing. So he does what no sane man probably would do or advise any of his loved ones to do. He goes out and borrows that money from his credit cards at 28% interest to go buy this liquor store. It's like absolutely maddening, right? It's something that like none of us would do, but it's part of being an entrepreneur. You bet on yourself, you bet on your vision, you bet on your hard work more than anything else. And he knew that this was the only way he was going to end up owning a store. So he did it. And then he came home and he made one thing very, very clear to mom and to the family. So for the next 3 years, every dollar we earn at the store is going to be going to go pay back that loan. We're
Makes
going to
sense.
struggle really, really hard for the next 3 years because we're not going to have anything. We're not going to have any of our wants. We may not even have some of our needs. But every dollar we make will go back to paying off this loan for 3 years. And then after that, it'll be smooth sailing. So we all pitched in as a family. Mom was working at the store. I'm a 15-year-old kid in high school, and I would come home and go to the store after school, bring my little notebook and pretend to be studying and hanging out with my dad, who owned the store, in case there was ever any checkings or anything. And if you think about it, Brian, again, fun times. I tell people I grew up in the industry. Since I was working at a liquor store since before I had facial hair.
Wow.
And we grew up in the industry kind of pre Google and with no mentors in the industry, right? We were pronouncing Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir. We were pronouncing Bordeaux, Bordeaux. Bordeaux was Bordeaux. I can't even tell you what Cabernet Sauvignon and Sauvignon Blanc were because we didn't even attempt them. And it was like if we wanted to know what we talked about King of Kentucky earlier as a joke, like if we wanted to know what King of Kentucky was like, the only way we would find out is if we talked to someone that had tried it because we couldn't go to Google and be like, what are the reviews? Those things didn't exist at that time.
Yeah.
There was a couple of like, whiskey magazines, but like actual magazines, and we couldn't afford to buy them. So the only way we learned was just by talking to people and interacting with people, customers, sales reps, brand owners, and taking all the knowledge and information they had and like soaking it in as like a sponge so we could then pass it forward and share it with our customers that would come into the store.
Yeah. So one thing that struck me when I was watching some past YouTubes and podcasts that you've done is you kind of got into wine, right? And you tell these stories about how you progressively bought more and more expensive wine. And I do want to go there, but for a second, one of the things I want to say that struck me was what seemed to be the limiting factor, and is for a lot of people, myself included, was what you thought was possible. So at first you thought it was only possible to sell 10, 15, $20 wine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere
That's
along the
exactly right.
way you realize, whoa, well, there are people who buy expensive wine. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So when we bought the store, our high end wines were like, maybe $15 to $20, somewhere in that range, right? And people would come in and ask for bottles that were at that time $200, $300, bottles that we had never even heard of. And we would turn around and recommend like a $9 bottle of Kendall Jackson Chardonnay to them because that's what sold a lot and it was really popular. So we just assumed it was good because we didn't know any better. Um, and then I got really lucky. We had this one client that came in and really educated me. I considered him, unfortunately, he has passed a few years ago, but I considered him one of my early mentors in the industry. And he wasn't even an industry guy. He was just a customer that walked in and fell in love with me and told me that I reminded him a lot of himself when he was younger because I was I didn't know anything and he knew I didn't know anything, but I was very transparent and honest about not knowing. And he was like, and that's really refreshing. And I told him, I said, I want to learn, but I just don't know where I can go to learn these things. So he kind of really took me under his wings and taught me a lot about wine. And he made me go, wow, there's this world out there where people are buying $50 to $200 bottles and we can sell them in our store. And we did. And then we went like, what if we did like a $500 bottle?
Hmm.
Right? And then we sold that. And
Sold
then we
that.
were like, what if we did like $1,000 bottle? That was like unheard of for us, like unheard of, right? And we sold that. And then slowly we started to realize like, sky's the limit and we could do anything. And luckily, dad's always been one that has never been afraid to invest in his business, invest in himself, invest in me. Anytime I would come to him with what I thought was a crazy idea to buy something, all he would ask me is, can you sell it at some point? If you could sell it at some point and you want to bring it in, go bring it in, go try it out. Let's see. Who cares? Worst case scenario, it doesn't sell and it's just sitting here and we've got inventory at the store. No big deal.
That's amazing. That confidence at that, at a
Yeah,
young
no
age,
doubt.
man, that's got to be foundational.
It was amazing. It was so cool to have not just his verbal support or anything, but just his complete backing to say, do what you want. I know we're going to be fine. Like, I've got all the faith in the world in you and me and this business that we've set up, that we're not going to have to worry about anything. As long as you know that you can move it, I'm confident that you can move it.
So it took about 3 years to pay off that loan, or that was the goal, right?
That was the goal. He's like I told you, man, he's a legend. He's the most gangster person you'll ever meet in your life. He paid it off in like a year and a half because we busted our ass off for it, Brian. Like, I mean, when I tell you I was there like after school so that as soon as I got there, some hourly employee could go home so we could save $35 that day, because then that $35 could go back to paying off the loan sooner. Like, we did the things we've done, man. It's been a very, very cool and very interesting ride, one I wouldn't trade in for anything in the world. It's Americana. It's everything that's right with this country. It's the American dream, like we talked about earlier. But because he's who he is, he wasn't going to wait 3 years, even though that was his goal to do this.
That's amazing. So how long did it what did that timeline look from starting the store and selling these inexpensive wines to going to selling $1,000 bottle of wine? What does that look like?
Great question. So I'm in college at this point, and I'm in college studying marketing and accounting. Like, that's my finance. That's my degrees in marketing and finance, right? And I'm in school because I want to open up either a PR firm or an ad agency. You couldn't convince me at that time to go into the liquor business, no matter what. I
Okay.
worked with dad to help him out at the store because that's part of what my familial obligations were, and I
Absolutely.
wanted to help, but I didn't want to go into the business. Then one summer, I ended up working full time at the store and taking on more responsibilities because that's what was needed of me. And when I tell you, Brian, I fell so madly and deeply in love with the store that summer. To this day, it's my biggest passion and my biggest hobby. Like, I'm on vacation thinking about business because how much I genuinely love doing what I do.
Get it.
So when I came on, like, kind of full time, if you would, after that summer, so junior year or so of college, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I told dad, I said, you're going to have to kick me out at some point because I don't see myself leaving. I love this too much. And then at that point, when I came on, we kind of changed the way we did business a little bit. We started to realize like we were not doing anything to distinguish ourselves. There's only so much Johnny Walker and Smirnoff and Kendall
Sure.
Jackson and Bacardi that you can sell in a city that's very, very small and concentrated with liquor stores every block or block and a half in every direction you go. And to this day, my dad doesn't drink, right? Like, you could
Wow.
blindfold my pops and give him bourbon, vodka, and red wine, and he won't know which is which. He might not even know they're three different things because that's not his skill set. His skill set is you give him $1 and he'll give you $2 back. It's what he's done his whole life. So when I came on and we had this realization that we were not doing anything to differentiate ourselves, we started to look into how can we differentiate ourselves. And for us, that was twofold. One was the kind of higher end, more niche, more fine and rare items, and the other
Okay.
were barrel picks.
Okay.
So this would be from the time when we bought our first store until now. This was probably about, I'd say, about a 6-ish year or so,
Okay.
maybe 5 or 6 years or so, in that, somewhere in that neighborhood, until we started to realize it and then capitalize on it. And then, I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, even now we haven't hit our limits because who knows what the limit is, right? And that's
Absolutely.
coming from a guy that sold a $500,000 bottle for one
Wow.
singular bottle. And I don't know if that's the limit because at some point we might sell a 7-figure bottle. Who knows? I never thought in my life growing up that we would ever sell a bottle that was $1,000 and never mind 500,000, right? So like,
Yeah.
why put the cap on anything at this point?
What year did you do your first barrel pick, and what was that? Do you remember?
I remember what it was very, very clearly. And I want to say it was around '01, '02, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe
Okay.
2000. So 25-ish years ago, before like barrel
Yeah.
picks were even a thing in the
Yeah.
industry, you could probably count on two hands the number of retailers around the country that were doing barrel picks, right?
Yeah.
It was
Absolutely.
very few and far between. And what it was is something I'll never forget. It was Smooth Ambler, who are two of my favorites, started back then by John Foster and John Little. I'm 99.99999% sure that we were the first ever retail account that they sold a barrel to. I think John Little tells that story himself, where we were the first ones to get one. And ever since then, we realized that when we had a barrel pick in our store, we could turn around and tell our customers the only place in the whole world you're going to find this
Yeah.
bottle is here.
Yeah.
Right? This
Absolutely.
bottle doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. And every bottle we've ever done has our last name on it. And we stand behind that firmly, because to this day, we pass up on more barrel picks than we buy. We pass up on more barrels than we bring in, because quality of the barrel picks that we do means everything to us. We put our name, like I said,
100%.
on every single bottle. So for us, it was a really cool differentiating factor. And it kind of it started as like a very small cult like following locally, then
Hmm.
regionally, then nationally. And then it just spread kind of like wildfire almost. And the following that we would get for some of our barrel picks was insane. Like, we would sell out barrel picks. We're so accustomed to back then selling out barrel picks in literally a matter of seconds.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really cool, Brian. It was a great time because, like, if a barrel lasted for like 2 or 3 minutes and it wouldn't be sold out, we were like, "Wow, that barrel was really slow. We should consider not doing that brand again."
Wow. That's crazy. So were you the first ones to sell online?
I don't know if we were the first. I'm sure there were others before us. I'll
Yeah.
never be pompous enough to think I invented the
One
wheel.
of.
I stand on the shoulders of many giants that paved the path before me
For
and
sure.
helped me get to where I am. So yeah, we were one of the early adapters for sure in doing barrel picks and listing them online and selling them online and shipping them all over the country. We were definitely one of the first to develop like brand name recognition, if you would, in other
Yeah.
markets that were not our local home market as well.
That's amazing. So I have this picture of you guys like in the back of the warehouse, like packing up boxes and shipping them all over
Yeah,
the country. Was that what was happening?
probably. I mean, I'm not sure which picture you're looking at, but that's very possible. We've done all kinds of crazy shit like that. Like during COVID, for example, the store was closed to the public. So I was the only employee that went in for about a 4.5 month period. I would go in literally every single day by myself, do all the ordering, stocking, restocking, compiling for Uber Eats and DoorDash and Instacart pickups, and then all the order compiling for all the shipping orders. And then I would bring home all the product for the shipping orders, and we packed them as a family in my garage from my house, and then I would take the packed boxes the next day and drop them off at UPS. So it's very
Yeah,
possible
that
that's a picture you're looking at. I mean, we've
I
done
yeah, in my
anything and
mind.
everything.
Sorry, that's what I was thinking in my mind. So I'm gonna I'm gonna stop just for a second, Prob. And one thing the sponsor of this episode is Bottle to Bond, which is my company.
Of
Um,
course.
you're familiar with my product. I think I gave you
Yeah.
one when we were out in
I've got one. I've
Texas.
got one upstairs as we speak,
Yeah.
actually.
Here's the case. Oops, the case, the custom molded case to the glass. And there's been so many nights. I mean, I'm still a little over a year into this particular business, and I mean, I'm still packing things on my dining room table, right?
Hell yeah, brother.
Like
Hell yes.
packing
I
them
mean, I
up,
get it.
dropping them off at UPS, dropping them off at the post office. Sometimes it's 4 orders, sometimes it's 20. But to your point, it's just you just do what you got to do, right? Like sometimes I'm my son, he knows he can make extra money. He's 12, right? So he knows he can make extra money by packing boxes. And so
Yes.
anytime he wants a toy, a specific toy, he'll do the math to figure out how many
That
units
is
he's got to pack,
amazing.
right? And I'm like,
Tell that young man if he wants a job when he's 18 to call me.
I'm like, dude, just like that you can get any toy, right? Any toy.
Yes.
hundred
Yep.
dollar
You got to
toy,
earn.
fine. Just pack a lot of boxes, right?
Yep. That's
So
exactly it.
yeah. That's awesome. So you got early into the barrel picks, early in online, and you're just growing and growing and growing in the store. So
Yeah.
this is starting in 95, 96. You said 95.
Yeah, 95, November of 95 is when we bought our first store. And then, one store became two, two became three, three became four. In the 30 years that my family's done this, we've owned, I forget, it's eight or nine, eight stores, I think, in DC. Currently, we just have the two. Because along the way, the thought was to buy one and then fix it and then sell it. And we did that for a few years as well, where we would buy a store in a really good neighborhood that was poorly run, fix everything that was wrong with it, and then sell it to another operator that could make some money off of it.
That's amazing. So let's move forward to starting Dream Spirits.
Yeah.
Okay, how
Uh,
long has Dream Spirits been going right now?
I mean, we incorporated probably 4-ish years ago, but like I tell people all the time, we started really only about 15 months or so ago.
Okay,
Because for the first few months, we were doing all the stuff that we needed to do in order to be able to actually buy barrels and sell bottles and all these things. Then
okay,
after that, the next few months, what we did was only barrel picks for my store, and it was only few and far between. After that, it was a couple of barrel picks for like friends of ours, like Nashville used to have this podcast called Dad's Drinking Bourbon, for example.
yep,
And
yep.
these two dudes you probably know, like Zeke and John, good friends of ours, wanted to do barrels. I want to say they were probably the first like friends and family barrel that we did, if my memory serves me well. And initially, that's all it was. And then we were eventually like, okay, now let's make this a real thing, and then
Mm,
open it up for others, private groups, is all we focused on in the very beginning. Uh, so no retailers, no restaurants, no bars, just private groups. And then mid last year, I would say, is when we actually, maybe beginning of last year, is when we actually started opening up the floodgates for everybody: retailers, restaurants, bars, private groups. So it's a really convoluted answer and a very long way to
okay,
say I'd like to think we've been doing what we do for about 15-ish months, maybe 18-ish months now at this point.
okay. Well, then let's go back before that. When did you know you wanted to start a brand, and how did you do it? Like, tell me what that looks like. I've got stores, but it's a whole different thing to start an NDP and start dealing with TTB and cola and all of that.
Yeah, great point. So how it came to be is, again, it was dad that is the reason that it came to be. My pops had been adamant that at some point we needed to start a brand, and we had done, and this sounds really pompous and arrogant, and it's not the way my dad raised me, but it's just a fact. Dad saw that we helped a lot of small brands grow nationally. We helped get them national recognition when we would do barrel picks for them for the store. And then the fact that we did them and then we would ship them nationally. And then it would kind of like news would spread like wildfire. Like
Hmm.
Smoke Wagon, for example, is a great example of it. We did the first ever barrel pick of Smoke Wagon outside of Nevada and California, and we bought 3 barrels from them. And then the week after, they must have sold 30 or 40 barrels just off of the inquiries that came to them from us, just as a small
Mm,
example. And this would happen at brand after brand after brand after brand. And that just came up to me and just said, we've got to do this for ourselves. We've got to build our own brand. And, like I told you earlier, Dream Spirits is called Dream for two reasons: the American dream that I feel like my family represents, and my dad's dream. His dream was to leave a legacy behind. He'll tell you, like, when we're all gone, if there are bottles with our name on them around the country that people maybe share with each other or sell at a store or sell at a bar, maybe at that point they talk about a story, and that's how our legacy can potentially live on.
totally.
So he said, we've got to do this, and we have to do it for ourselves instead of just for someone else at some
Sure.
point. So that's where it came from. But you nailed it so, so, so accurately, Brian. I can build a store tomorrow in my sleep. You give me 4 walls and a ceiling, and I'll have a store ready in 2 days. I've done this 8 or 9 times for ourselves and a handful of times for other people, right? Just as helping them out. I've designed other stores for friends, for competitors, for anybody. But I didn't know anything about starting an NDP. I didn't know, where do you go for barrels? What do you do with TTB? How do you do anything with TTB? What does a rick house look like? Bottling line, where do you get glass, labels, stoppers, boxes? Nothing.
All of
I
it.
mean, nothing. I knew nothing. But I knew the one thing that my dad had always taught me, which is you build genuine, meaningful, lifelong relationships with people.
Yeah.
And if and when you do that, when you need them, hopefully they're there for you. So you lean on them. So I called up the Johns from Smooth Ambler, Matt, who
Mhm.
started Magnus, Wes Henderson and Kyle Anderson, who started Angels to Envy, friends of the industry, titans, really, of the industry.
Yeah.
And I would tell them all the same thing. I said, hey, I'm thinking of starting a brand. So either tell me I'm an idiot and I should stop, and I will, right? Because if I call you for advice, I'm going to take your advice. And if I'm not an idiot and I shouldn't stop, then help me.
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know. Teach me so I can learn and I can do this. And every single one of these guys has been a huge asset. Without them, we are not where we are today. I'm not where I am today. We're not probably even talking about being spirits without these guys having come and stepped up to the plate. So they helped me with everything, like, along the way, and it's been the biggest blessing in the world. Just have had friends that just said, "Yeah, no problem. I'll connect you to my glass vendor."
Yeah.
Johnson, "Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll help you design the rick house for you. No problem. I'll tell you how many barrels it can house if you give me the dimension." Everything. I mean, like, from the smallest thing to the biggest, these guys did all the heavy lifting for me, right? And
Yeah.
I got to learn along the way, and I got to, again, as we talked about earlier, I got to stand on the shoulders of these titans of the industry, these giants that handheld me through the process and
Yeah.
got me to the finish line, if you would.
Man, here's the thing. I think I've realized a few things. One is how far you can go is a function of what you believe you can do, right? Like more than anything, if you believe you have a real shot. And secondly, I always thought that people who are successful, who've done some crazy things like these guys you're talking about, would be guarded and would be, wouldn't want to share with you. But that's not true.
No,
If
yeah,
if they see a good and genuine dude, like you become friends with them, actually they want to help.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
That's been my
they
experience.
they all helped. I mean, I'm telling you, it's the biggest blessing. And again, without it, nothing would have happened, because I wouldn't even know where to go. I wouldn't know what I needed to do. I wouldn't have known anything. And if you think about it, we started kind of in the heart of COVID. At this point, there's a glass shortage everywhere,
Yeah, there was.
right? Jack Daniels couldn't even get glass, but we did, because one of our friends made a call and said, "No, this is my buddy Prav. You're going to put in his order now."
So that's awesome. So you had a lot of help from people in the industry, these connections you've made 15, 20 years ago, right? Or all along the way that you could finally reach out and say, "Hey, I need a little help. I want to start this." So you've started it. You are building a name for yourself. Like I went out to Texas and met you at a festival, right? And there was buzz around the product. Like I had not tried it until we went to that festival, and I was like, "Damn, this is good. He good shoes."
I
And
appreciate
since
that.
yeah, man, since then I've been talking to people about it, telling people in my community. One of my stores, the store McFarland and Georgia Liquor Barn, recently dropped right before Christmas. They dropped the first two barrels in Georgia, right?
Yep. Yep.
As soon as I meet up with my buddy tomorrow, I've got a pair. I've got the rye and the double oaked. I think it's wild turkey
I love
sourced, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait to try those. But you're making a name for yourself. It's getting out there, slowly but surely, right? It's just one step at a time.
Yep.
Any
Yep.
idea like how many barrels you've done at this point? Like how many you've sold?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I've got to do some accounting for my accountant anyways next week.
Yeah.
So had we talked next week, I'd probably be able to give you that answer, but I'm not 100% sure at this
Yeah.
point.
No worries.
I'm the most unorganized person you'll ever meet, bro. Like, I've got everything. To this day, I do all my ordering out of a composition notebook, like on a pen and paper out of a composition notebook.
No, I get it. Um, so you just started doing retail, you know, bars and restaurants. You've been doing whiskey clubs and stuff for a while, right? I mean, at
Yes.
least in that
Yes.
that period. So how does somebody do a pick with you?
Just reach out to me, man. Reach out to me on the Instagram is easy. If you have my cell number, if you don't, then somebody in the industry has it. Call me, text me. I like to make myself really accessible. I tell people all the time, my phone is on 21 hours a day. Give me
Yeah.
between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. is like me time. Except for that, hit me up whenever.
Yeah.
Just reach out to me and we'll talk. Like, the thing that we really want to do with Dream Spirits, Brian, is I tell people we're not a whiskey company.
Yeah.
We're not a spirits company. We're an experience company. We happen to sell whiskey. What was really wrong and missing to me in the whiskey scene and in the barrel selection process and scene, if you would, was experience. everywhere you would go, it felt somewhat transactional or very transactional, depending on where you went.
Yeah.
But there was never a chance to have your own barrel pick on your own terms, the way you wanted things to be, everything to be for you versus for the brand, if you would. So for us, we want to reverse all of that, and we want to make this about you. We want to make it an experience. We house people on at our compound, where Dream Spirits is, at a gorgeous house that's absolutely loaded with amenities. I call it adult bourbon camp. And we give you that house for free if you're here for a barrel pick, because we want you to really come in and make memories. On our deathbed, we're never going to be like, oh, that 2013 Michter's 20-year-old had like notes of cherry. But we might be like, oh, I remember drinking it with Brian at this festival in Texas.
Yeah.
Right? It's the
For
memories,
real.
it's the experiences, it's the moments that we actually have that are significant in the whiskey. And we just want to be a small part of like that experience, if you would.
Yeah, dude. That's the exact reason my brand is named Bottle to Bond. Because I always say you start with the bottles. Like you start
Yeah.
hunting, collecting, chasing bottles, right? It gets you in somewhere along the way, you get into it and you just go nuts. And, you go from 10 bottles to a real collection, 50, 100, 1,000, whatever, wherever you want to stop, right? But somewhere along the way, what you realize is you meet the most amazing people in the community, right? So it's the bonds that really keep you in this. It's not the
Suddenly.
bottles.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, that's
Absolutely.
amazing. I have heard
Exactly right.
stories about your, somebody told me it was a barn dominium that you had built at your compound. I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah.
I heard it,
Yeah.
like I heard it
Yeah.
was killer. The minute I heard about that, I was like, crap, now I want to do a
Yeah. Yeah.
barrel
It
pick.
is. I
And
mean, that's what
yeah, tell
you
me about
come by,
that. Tell
bro.
me
The
about
door's
the,
always open for you. And it is. It is.
yeah,
I call it a modern barn dominium, because it's a barn dominium, if you would. It's a 5-bedroom house. It's in the heart of wine country in Virginia, kind of where all the wineries are, breweries are, all the antique shops, all the farms. It's a 11-acre property. House is 5 bedrooms, and when I tell you it's loaded with amenities, we have a outdoor jacuzzi, outdoor sauna, fire pit, axe throwing, archery,
heard.
bocce ball, shuffleboard, sub soccer, indoor arcade, mini basketball. I mean, anything and everything you could possibly want directly on compound. And then from the house, you walk 50 yards, maybe 60 yards over to where the rick house is. And then you walk another 10 yards over to where the tasting room is. And then you go back to the house and just hang out with whoever you're there with, whether it's friends or family or clients or corporate, whatever it may be. But you get a chance to really have an experience. You get a chance to really make memories. You really get a chance to deepen the bonds that you have created
Yeah.
over these bottles that you're going to be sharing.
So I did my first barrel pick. I did it at Jack, and I'm a big Jack fan. I'm a Squire and
Yeah.
love Jack
Yeah.
Daniels. But they rolled us out 3 barrels, right? You have 3 barrels to
100%.
pick from. That's what you got.
Yep.
If they're
Yep.
good barrels, great. Ours happen to be very good barrels. If they're not, then you either have 3 barrels or you just don't do your pick, I guess. How many barrels? I mean, what does that look like at your place? And I know you have different mash bills and rye and bourbon and a bunch of different
Yeah.
stuff.
So great question. We talked earlier about how we want this to be for you, right? I got tired of going to places where they would have 3 barrels either pre-pulled and samples pre-pulled, and you would drink from them, or 3 barrels or 4 barrels pulled, where you could, if you were really lucky, you could thief from the barrel or
That's
drill
what we
from the
did. Yeah.
barrels, whatever it may be. But like, it was just those 3 or 4. But then, like, anytime you would ask for anything more, the answer was always no. Can we try a fourth barrel? No. Can we blend these two together? No. Can we double oak one of these? No. Can you age it for another 4 months before you bottle it for us? No. So we took all those no's, and we like to believe we're in the business of saying yes. So when you're in the rick house with me and we're drilling barrels, we again are in the business of saying yes. So I have a very, very simple rule. If you have a crazy idea, you want to do something that you think is cool but hasn't been able to be done, or nobody else gave you the opportunity to do it, ask me. I don't have to ask corporate. I don't have to get anybody's permission. You only have to check 2 very simple boxes, right? The first one is it has to be legal,
Hmm.
kind of important, right? And then the second one, has to be kind of either cool or fun. I don't want to do something just for the sake of doing it, because you could potentially, not you, Brian, but like a generic, you could be like, oh, I want to take this amazing 12-year MGP bourbon and then I want to finish it in an apple cider barrel and bottle it at 50 proof because I think that's really cool to me.
Mm.
For something like that, I'll probably say no, because at some point somebody will try it and think it represents the brand
Sure.
Dream Spirits without knowing it might have been your idea when it doesn't represent us. So make it legal, make it cool or fun, and ask me. We'll do anything. We don't have a you come in, you're getting 3 barrels. You want to drill 20 barrels? Cool, drill 20 barrels. I jokingly tell people, not jokingly, but jokingly all the time. As long as you're buying, I'm still drilling. So we'll just keep going, no problem. We want you to come in and leave not satisfied, but overly satisfied. We want to almost be gluttonous with the satisfaction that you get out of that barrel pick experience.
Amazing. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Rob, so let's just say it was my brand that said, let's say I decided I want to do a barrel pick and, talk to you and you're, yep, come on, bring your group, we do it. How does that get distributed? Let's just say because I'm not, for a brand like myself, I'm not going to be, selling this out of the back of my trunk
Exactly. We don't
to,
want you to. We don't want anybody to do anything illegal.
yeah,
We're so lucky that we have a business in Washington, D.C., which has very liberal alcohol laws that can help kind of support our hobby and our
sure.
business and our passion. You, as a private group, your private brand want to do a barrel pick, we can route that through my store. So
Got it.
Dream Spirits will legally sell the barrel to the store. Then the store can do online fulfillment for you if you want. The store can ship you the product if you want. The store can collect payment and have it ready for you to pick up if you want. And then if you happen to have an account, a retailer or a restaurant or a bar, then Dream Spirits will work with your particular market if we don't already have distribution there to find a distributor to get you the product through the legal proper channels. We've got distribution in a lot of the major markets now, but one of our goals this year is to add more of those. I would say we're probably in about 18 or 20 states now, maybe 20-ish states, but our goal is to get to like 35 or 40 probably this year. And that just means bring business to us. Tell us you have a store in. I just spoke to somebody last week that has a store in Alabama, and I never thought for the life of me when we started this that we'd be distributing in Alabama, but we're distributing in Alabama now.
Yeah. Did you know that's where I'm based?
Oh, I did not know that. That's so funny.
I'm in
Yeah, so
Birmingham. Yeah.
we've got a barrel coming to the store. It's called the Spot at 280.
Yeah. I know those guys.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so
They're
funny. What a
probably like
small world.
15 minutes from my house. Yep.
There you go. So then you can go pick up some Dream Spirits locally there soon.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, just a few things. I mean, I could legit talk to you for 3 hours, but I don't think
I
anybody would
appreciate that,
watch
brother.
a 3 hour YouTube.
It would just be you and me hanging out.
It would, which would be fine, but we could do that
Yeah,
another time.
exactly.
What are some of the unique experiences you had because of whiskey? Like, I mean, I know you were part of the Pappy 15 single barrel pick,
Yeah.
you know?
Um, I mean, I'll tell you, like, I've lived a life that has been filled with blessings far more than I deserve. I know that for a fact, and there's not a single day where I take any of it for granted. I'm thankful and grateful for every single one of them. Experiences wise, it has been unparalleled. The store has afforded us access to the who's who of the country and of the world. We have done things that seem like they only exist in movies or on shows like Billions, for example, but it's been my real life. Like we've delivered stuff to countless private jets. We've had guys with private jets come in just to pick up stuff. We've had guys fly in from other countries just to pick up one single bottle and then fly back home on their private jet. We've delivered to the White House countless times. I've served whiskey and wine at presidential dinners. There probably isn't athlete or celebrity that has been in the local area, at least for sure, that we haven't had access to and or dealings with and or conversations with. And the list of those types of things goes on and on. And then we get to be really, really, really blessed by being able to do a very small part of giving back. Giving back's very important to my family because of the fact that we came from literally nothing. We came from I tell people like we came from the dirt, literally, right? And then rose to build what we've been able to and been blessed to build today. So we want to make sure we're doing our part to give back. At Dream Spirits, for example, we donate $1 for every bottle we bottle to charities that are important to us. And I know $1 doesn't sound like a lot, but by the time you end up bottling hundreds of barrels, dollars add up really quickly per bottle.
Sure.
And then we were able to do things like the Happy Barrel that was for charity, the Old Forester President's Choice Barrel that we did that was for charity. These are two of the most expensive barrels of whiskey ever sold, right?
Yes.
The Old Forester President's Choice Barrel sold for $250,000, all for charity. The Happy Barrel sold for $800,000, again for charity. And I've been able to be a small part of things like that. That's been really, really cool. And it's like bucket list experience whiskey items for
Super bucket list.
anybody. And I mean, I am the guy this is my hobby, this is my passion, like we talked about. I happen to do it for a living, right? So
Yeah.
I can understand and appreciate how cool it is to be able to do these things. It's not lost on me. It's not lost on me one bit. It's something that again, am thankful and grateful for every single day. The experiences, we could go on and on. I could probably talk to you for hours about the different experiences we've been able to have because of whiskey.
Can you share the story about doing the single barrel pick at Old Forester, the presidential choice, is it? President's choice.
Yeah, President's Choice. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, so we did the barrel pick there. Mike Hines, who owns Nashville Barrel Company, is a very dear friend of mine. He and I led the pick with a guy. I'm not sure he's a public guy, so I'll leave his name actually out of
That's
it.
fine.
Another buddy of ours as well.
Okay.
And we went and we did the barrel pick with Chris Morris, who's the master distiller at Brown Foreman. Chris was great, gracious, hosted us. We went through and we tasted samples, and there were two barrels that we were torn between. We just couldn't pick. Both of them were excellent, and our problem was that we had paid $250,000 for one of these barrels, and for all we know, I mean, I've seen enough short barrels in my life to know we could potentially be tasting something that was 40 bottles or 50 bottles, and then we go, crap, we still really liked it, but we ended up kind of getting the short end of the stick a lot. So we talked to Chris, and Brown Foreman was generous enough where they let us buy a second barrel from their gift shop as well. So we ended up actually leaving with both barrels instead of the one, which is what we originally were going to go in for.
And I heard you tell the story of actually getting the barrel.
Yeah, that was a
That
fun one. So we actually got the empty barrel as well, which was great. We had a good friend and client of mine do kind of like a cannonball run almost from Virginia to Kentucky to pick up the barrels and everything for us. And when they got there, the empty barrels were there. And I asked him, I said, hey, see if they'll give you the empty barrels. Because anytime we've done a barrel pick, you get the empty barrel
yeah.
with the barrel. It's part of what you're buying. And the logistics guy was like, I'm not so sure that the barrel is included. And I was like, well, I can't imagine why it wouldn't be. It's no different than me. Like, you're telling me I buy a $6,000 barrel of Old Forester barrel proof bourbon from you, and the empty barrel's included, but $250,000 barrel and it isn't. That doesn't compute with me.
Mhm.
So we ended up getting both of the empty barrels as well. Both of those empty barrels are actually currently in Dream Spirits, and they both have been refilled with 11-year-old Booker's bourbon as we speak, and they're just kind of resting until they're ready to be bottled into something cool. I would like to think we're probably the only person in the entire world that can say they will have a bourbon that has been double oaked in an Old Forester President's Choice barrel.
Tell me a little bit about where you want this to go in the next few years. What's the end game for you? What's the vision?
I don't have an end game per se. If it hasn't been clear yet, my dad's my hero, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds
so
amazing.
anytime your hero has a dream and you have any ability to help make his dream come into reality, you're going to do anything and everything in your power to do that. And that's all I'm doing. I'm trying to make my pops proud and say, I had a dream and my son busted his ass to make my dream come true. So that's for me the end game is to say,
Yeah.
hey, dad, this was your dream. We made your dream come true. But like, where do I see it going? I see it growing. We're all about like slow and steady and proper growth, if you would, right? We don't want to grow for the sake of growing. We want to be in the right places. We want to align ourselves with the proper retailers, with the proper private groups, with the proper distributors, people that can understand our vision and that can understand what we want and have a similar mindset to us. And then let's just keep on growing. Knock on wood, we're really, really lucky right now. Demand is crazy. We're booked until the end of April or May. I forget what it is right now for barrel picks at Dream. So demand is great. It's growing. It's spreading every single day. replied to multiple messages from people that are inquiring about wanting to do a barrel pick. All of these things are great things. And for me, that's all I want to see. I want to see it to continue to grow, but I don't have any numbers in mind. Like I went into last year, Brian, and I put in like a projection in my mind to say like, okay, if we grow this many percent or this many barrels or whatever, in comparison to 2024, we would have done great. And like I thought I set the bar like really high, and then I exceeded that before June last
Wow.
year. So like
Crazy.
I'm telling myself this year, like I'm not gonna do that to myself. I'm not gonna say this is the bar, because maybe even with me thinking I'm setting it really high, I'm not, because we're trying to just do things that it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. We don't need to, but we're just trying to do things that maybe other people aren't. We're just trying to make sure that people are the forefront of dream and people are understanding it and appreciating it and it's connecting. So we're just going to kind of let that kind of snowball and grow and increase on its own.
Prav, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, but this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Hey, bro. Hey, man. Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me, dude. I really mean it. You know, I can't wait for your listeners and your viewers to see this and hopefully understand that you are a guy of passion as well, that you
So
are
much.
somebody that understands it. And that, you're doing your best to bring these stories to them because they matter.